This week on RSBANDB Update, Mod Keeper's letter gets the full update treatment with thoughts now from the full panel as well as analysis on what it could mean for the future of RuneScape. We look back at some key historical moments and try to figure out just what is going on. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 972, recorded Thursday, February 8th, 2024. RuneScape's uncertain future. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of RSBANDB Update. This week, we're back. We're here to do have a deeper discussion into what's ahead for RuneScape and what that means, and we're gonna hear from you, Tanis, on that because you didn't get a chance to comment on that yet because we had to do a rather quick addendum and you weren't available for that last Friday. So, welcome. Look forward to hearing your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Shane. Yeah, it's it was something.
Yeah, it was something.
It was a statement.
Yeah. No. Also joining us, Pernasius is here to continue the discussion that we had when we were doing that addendum there, so welcome back.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
And, of course, Zerdones is also here, and I feel like there was a good discussion that happened either in the RSBANDB or Clan Quest Discord somewhere about, just roadmaps and content planning. So I figured, based on how we were chatting in there, that it might have made sense to have you on the show, so welcome.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. So, of course, Mod Keeper's statement, as well as, of course, a look ahead into this week's update regarding the WildyWyrm and Mod2's quest requirement changes, and, of course, a couple hours before recording here, the combat beta was updated, but we'll have more information on that next week, hopefully, with that as well. So I know you guys really like that coverage we had there last week on that, but nonetheless, we're going to dive straight in. But before doing that, I just need to give a big, huge thank you to our experienced tier Patreon members. Those people, of course, make RSBANDB Update entirely possible, and that's Amos Reed, Andrew C., Drama Free, Jason S., Jesse W., Kesky, Ricky A., Rippeth, Runestar, and The Naked Captain. Big, huge thank you to everybody who has signed up for that, and of course, you'll be hearing more about what we have on Patreon a little bit later in the podcast. But just a final reminder here: you have about a week and a bit still to do our annual general survey. Visit update.show/survey. We want to know where the podcast should go in 2024, so please do check that out. Fill it in if you haven't already. It would mean the world to us, and it would be great if you did. And four participants from that survey will win a bond, so no reason not to do it. Update.show/survey. Okie dokie. You can find the full show notes at update.show. Friends chat is at BitsBytes, and the Discord is at update.show/discord. Housekeeping aside, I know it gets rather lengthy there with the survey, but that's only there for about another week and a bit. So thank you, everybody who has done it for bearing with us on that. So,
did you say 4 people win a bond?
Yes, 4. We upped it from 3 because of a gracious listener contribution.
I was going to say make it 5. I like a nice even number. I'll throw a bond in as well.
Okay, there you go. 5 people. 5 people will win
a
bond from our survey raffle. So yeah, no reason not to now. Thank you, Pernasius.
That's okay. Just remind me after the show, and I'll fix it up with you. I'll just give you the cash, though, because it's easier than paying that extra 10% and all that.
Yeah, of course.
You can buy them all.
Yeah. All right. So Mod Keeper, last Friday, statement going forward, talking about the future of RuneScape, and in particular how giving the players an insight of the future of RuneScape is critical. And now that we're into February, he, of course, wants to share some details about the plan. The focus will continue to be monthly content releases, giving meaningful updates supported by improvements guided by player feedback. And for the first half of the year, the focus is on delivering hotly requested updates, which in February, as we now know, is the Owlery quest in the city of with Moonstone Jewelry. In March will be the combat update, as well as the Easter event in the vein of the Christmas event. And that's what we got. And that's what we, discussed a little bit last week with Pernasius here. And Tanis, you haven't had a chance yet for this. Where do you come in on ModKeeper's message? Is it enough? Does it scratch the itch? Where are we at?
I kept looking for something, and it reminded me of like corporate speak and politician speak. And and I think the worst part was I didn't see anything to get excited about. Even this year there were things to, look forward to.
Yeah, well, you flip it on its head. A year ago, we knew they teased that, the next skill was coming out. It would be Necromancy.
Right. And I'm not seeing anything like that. And, that is not a knock necessarily on ModKeeper, but it's just where we are. And I think we need to get in a better spot. We need to be in a better place, because it just didn't feel like I was told anything. It really felt like listening to a politician, like reading a prepared statement.
And the thing that I have to say on that is that, the community was clamoring for this, right? It got to a point where it was pretty much like, guys, we're into February. Tell us what's going on for the year. And there's, February and March. But even then, it's a Game Jam quest, and it's the combat update going into the game, which, has the potential to really shake things up. But is it that much? I don't know. Zerdones, what do you think?
I think I'm somewhat unique in that as a player, I don't necessarily need a roadmap. Like, I'm generally, I don't want to say anti-roadmap, but I'm definitely more roadmap skeptical as a player. I mean, yeah, for the podcast, it's great to have because, we can plan ahead. But as a player, I do think there's something to be said for being surprised.
Right. And you probably still have your own goals and whatnot that you want to, chase and complete. So you still have a portion of the game ahead of you.
Well, I mean, dramatically less so now than I did last year. But I think, that being said, I think that, like, the reason the roadmaps are important is because I think Tanis hit the nail on the head. Players want something to be excited about. It's fine not to have a roadmap if the players trust that you are going to give them something exciting. And we haven't had that trust in a long time. And
or that exciting.
Right, exactly. We haven't had a really exciting update in a long time. Or we did have exciting updates, and they turned out to be kind of not all that we hoped they would be. I'm thinking of Vorkath, for example.
Right. And for Necromancy, that's a 50-50 of whether or not you like combat. If you don't like combat, well, then maybe it feels like you didn't get a new skill last year.
Yeah, Necromancy was a big update. Go ahead, Pernasius.
No, I was just going to say, you say that about Necromancy being a combat skill, and yes, it is a combat skill, but when your best training method is by skilling, it really, I don't think it sort of hit the mark there, because your fastest way really to 99 was pretty much, you do combat to about 70, and then you skill all the way the rest of it.
I think skilling at that, but
yeah, and the skilling was just so bright, it's just the same thing over and over and over again.
The general problem with Necromancy is it was a big headline, hotly anticipated update. It was the update of the year, or it should have been.
Should have been the update of the decade.
And it was controversial.
Yeah.
It had some ups. It had a lot of downs. It didn't land with the same excitement that, say, archaeology did.
Oh yeah, and that, I mean, and that, to be fair, I mean, archaeology was that exception. I don't think we'll ever have that sort of skill release that is going to hit as well as archaeology, but it needed to be closer to it than it was. And as I said, it was sort of a mix of skilling and combat, and I don't think it really scratched the itch properly on either. I mean, it's still decent.
Right.
I enjoy it, but it wasn't that wow.
And then you couple that with what immediately happened after that, you get to where you were saying, Zerdones, where it's like, when was the last time the RuneScape player base was excited?
I think it was
had
Samurai
a reason
Hack,
to be
honestly.
excited. Yeah, it was. And you could even look back at the updates that came with the fort too, right? Like,
I think the fort was the bigger one.
Like the player-owned fort, I think when you look at that from a 30,000 feet up perspective, and you see it in its entirety, great skilling update, Woodcutter's Grove, great, new construction training methods, great, new hatchets, great, and everything around the edges, right? But it took us 6-7 months to get to that point. And I think with that, you miss that, that chance to drive that level of excitement. And, we're not necessarily saying that every quarter you need to have something as big as archaeology. You definitely don't, and you can't do that. But at the same time, you have to be able to tell the players, this is what's on the way. This is why we think you're going to like it. Do you like it? And maybe, with some of these, hey, even give us some input into how we should be doing that. And that's not happening with that. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that the players are concerned about with this, is that, you're seeing it in the size of the content too. Like, the combat update is literally, was Mod Ryan and Mod Sponge, and Mod Pigeon has since joined the team to help out with that. And then in addition to that, it's a Game Jam project launching in February, 2 Game Jam projects. And January was, of course, Mod Black, which is an Alex's Kandarin graphical update, which tons of work goes into that. And I just think that there's this, expectation maybe from a different era of RuneScape that the updates look different than that. And I think there might be a disconnect in terms of what Jagex sees as, the monthly headlining updates and what the players are seeing as it, because if you really do split it down the middle on that, we had Vorkath, then after that, we had Christmas, and then we had a Kandarin graphical update. Then we're going to have a quest and some jewelry, which, came out of Game Jam, and then after that, we're going to have a combat update in March. And is that maybe emphasis, because still pending beta. But is that what Jagex sees as the monthly releases, or are players out of the realm and expecting too much? And I don't think they are, but I'm just framing it in a different way.
The sense I'm getting, and I just twigged this as you were summarizing Keeper's post, the sense I'm getting is that they're spending the first half of the year essentially on ninja strikes.
That's what it... at best. And
like that's not bad content. Like, those are good updates, but it tests the thing that players often say, which is, Jagex, fix your game, stop putting out content, stop making new content.
It does test that now, don't it? Yeah.
But I'll put this to Shane and I discussed this last week, so I'll put it to Zerdones and Tanis. With the backlash they got from Hero Pass, I would have expected, they would have been planning to have another Hero Pass in this period. And obviously they've had to drag that out. Do you think that's part of the problem as well? I mean, Shane and I thought, that hole was left there and they didn't have anything to fill it with.
Right. And the different way of looking at that is, if there was a Hero Pass or other Battle Pass style event running from January, through to April, would that make the content we're getting, feel different in that there's more to do?
I think the answer to that question is a lot easier for me. I think that's a no. Like, I don't think I'm probably in the minority in that I quite liked Hero Pass as it was initially released.
I did too.
But I don't think Hero Pass version 3, whichever one we'd be on by now, I don't think that would have made these updates feel exciting.
Hell, I mean, honestly, if that is what they were hanging their hat on, it's worse than I could even have imagined.
Well, and the other side of it, and this is something that Sirion said in that discussion, is that they either have nothing to announce going forward that's big, past March, or they do have something to announce, but they don't have the knowledge or the confidence that it'll pan out, so they're not announcing it.
Right, because this was very much the, okay, Jagex, show us what you've got moment. This would be the time to pull out God Wars Dungeon 4.
Or tell us that, we're working on a skill that's going to launch in 2025.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I believe it's the latter. They're no. I don't think they have anything like that.
I mentioned this in the Discord, and I think you might have mentioned it obliquely on the show last week, but I hate that I believe this, but I kind of do believe that the Hero Pass reaction made Jagex dump a big chunk of their in development content.
I don't think we mentioned that on the show last week, so let's dive into that.
Okay.
As in,
so there was
take us through this theory.
There was a statement made on Reddit which Mod Hooley replied to. It was basically a response to, I think it was a response to the Hero Pass backlash. So when there was that reaction to Hero Pass, there was a blog post put out basically saying, look, we apologize, we screwed up, we're going to change what we're doing and start bringing in more community consultation in our updates. And there was someone posted on Reddit, I don't know if it was a comment or a post, I didn't actually read it. I read Mod Hooley's response to it about, well, it sounds like Jagex is pivoting. And they said, oh shit, we need to not be doing the content. Like, the content that we had in development isn't going to cut it. We need to change rapidly, and we're going to drop everything. And Mod Hooley came on and said, no, that's not what happened. We still have content in development for the year. We're just trying to sort of change our processes around how we look at content. But honestly, looking at this message from ModKeeper, seeing what they have in the pipeline for Q1, I hate that I believe it. I don't want to believe it, but I kind of do.
And that
because there would be no other problem. Like, there would be no other reason that you would ship, what are effectively 3 things that started out as, 3 concentric game jam projects: the graphical rework, the quest, and then the combat stuff.
Like, if you have something in development that's exciting, this would have been the time to tell us about it. Yeah, you needed to have told us about it at this point.
And you know what? Then the uproar around Hero Pass was legit then. If this was the content and if this was the plan for the next foreseeable future, then I'm glad that people went off, because that doesn't cut.
So are we imagining then that the content surrounding this year would have been baked heavily into future iterations of Hero Pass to the point where it would have had people running around playing the game, doing auxiliary content updates that came out in the meantime, getting buffs, and with that, maybe revisiting some other areas? Are we thinking that's what maybe the Q1 plan was?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's possible. I don't think it's strictly a hard requirement. Like, what I think happened is, I'm going to relate back to something outside of video games, and I think this is something I've mentioned in the podcast before, and I know that you're more of a Star Trek guy, Shane, so I apologize, but Tanis and Parnassius, do you remember the Han Solo Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
No, I was never really into either Star Trek
I
or
got
Star
it.
Wars.
Solo.
Yeah, so when Disney so the brief history lesson here, when Disney took over Lucasfilm and they took over Star Wars, they released a plan that they were going to do numbered sequels continuing the story every other year. And then in the off years, they were going to do anthology films, just standalone movies that just told a story in the Star Wars universe. They did 2 of those. They did Rogue One, which was fairly well received. And then they did Solo. Solo came out. It made $400 million at the box office. And Disney immediately canceled all of their films except for the last numbered sequel, Rise of Skywalker. And Disney went radio silent for like 2, I don't remember exactly how long, for like 2 years. They completely reimagined how they were going to do Star Wars. And they brought out, their penance was they brought out The Mandalorian.
That
which
was
people really
I did
liked
watch
in
that.
season 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what I think happened, and I don't know what content was in the pipeline, but what I think happened was Jagex had a plan. They got this feedback about, they thought they were doing fine. They came out with Hero Pass. They had a plan for what they were going to do in 2024 and beyond. Whether or not that connected to Hero Pass, don't know, don't care. I think they said, oh shit, we need to start from scratch.
Hence the thing is that we don't have anything immediately for this quarter, or even that we can tell you about for April, May, June, and it might be radically different than what we were planning and what you guys are aware of, that we're not ready to talk about it yet for fear it might not pan out either on our end or in the community's end.
So in the meantime, we're going to release Game Jam projects that were done 6 months ago and just need some polish and QA. 8 months ago now. I think it was June 2023.
Yeah, the
And
jeweler.
there
was.
you have it. You heard it here first. Breaking news.
I hate that I believe this, but I
right.
do.
And see, that's where you get in when you realize that they either had nothing or they weren't sure it was going to pan out. And I think the only other thing that you could say, but I don't believe this to be true, is that the team has, in effect, maybe, the video game industry has been rough over the last number of years. Maybe there has just been some downsizing in the team that we're not aware of.
Also possible.
Because, you don't necessarily shout it from the rooftops if you're, going to let people go or you're, reducing the size of your team complement.
Okay, true. But RuneScape community.
RuneScape community and the gaming press in general.
I mean, have they ever been quiet about JMods leaving? Like, we knew when people from the cafeteria left, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if I buy that one.
Right, and that's why I present that out there as another option. I don't necessarily know that, to be true. And, like, well, what are our other options then in that case? Like seriously, at this point, I think the only other thing that might come up is that it's a project so big that it's pulling, from all the different people, and as such, they haven't really been able to get much content out.
I
struggle to imagine what
would be
that big.
I mean, let's face it, Zardone's put a glass slipper on that bitch's foot, and it fits. Like, I didn't think about it before, but it fits. It stinks, but it fits.
What about this? What about this line of the post? We are busy digesting everything that you told us in the survey and working on some exciting new pitches for you. Maybe even some cool stuff we can demo at RuneFest.
RuneFest, which is happening in September.
Yeah. And that's
pitches.
Right. And that's the scary thing about this is that we're going to see pitches in the spring, perhaps, with demos at RuneFest, and is that, all the future communication we're getting on this? Because, like it or not, in addition to this post, going back, everything has stopped outward, communication-wise to how it used to be. There used to be the weekly live stream. There used to be, the posts that would come up before the update would come out, which we're scheduled to get one, obviously, for the quest and whatnot. But it just feels like everything has really slowed down since post-necromancy.
Yeah.
Oh, post something.
So that makes me wonder, is it really, what your thinkings are doing, or is there maybe something else here that we're not aware of? And, we don't have an insight into the company.
Well, there
know.
is one thing that's looming.
Yeah, there is one thing that's been in the news.
There is one thing looming.
The sale.
But I don't know. Yeah. But you would think that would make them want to say something.
Raise the profile of it even more.
Yeah, if they had something, they definitely would have put it out.
Or here's the scary thought. Well, I keep using that word, the scary thought. What if the plan or the idea from corporate is to, just have the RS3 side hunker down and, not make too many ripples because of what happened in September, and just let the merits of the money that RS3 brings in and the community activity of old school sell the company? Because I didn't have it in the plan to talk about it here, but the offer being put forth by I forget who it is 900 million pounds. CVC is
no way.
900 million pounds.
No way.
Which is in my view, horrendously overpriced.
I mean, to be
over
fair,
$1 billion US.
I figure it'd probably be a third of that.
Well, I mean, what did you expect from Donald Trump's accountant?
What?
And what did you expect from Donald Trump's accountant?
It has nothing to do with this.
Well, I'm just saying over-evaluated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're one of those, okay.
But it could have to do with the sale. That's actually another good point. Just don't make waves. Don't have RS3 make waves at this point, because we tried to make a wave with something new in September, and the community, made the biggest wave that RuneScape 3 has ever seen outside of EOC.
We made a wave.
That's a depressing thought.
Yeah,
They're just going to play safe for the next few months.
But the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And if there's one thing we know about Jagex, it's they are reactionary, especially with big community uproars. Like, I think Sardone's is on it. Like, they would do that. They would scrap everything. Like, they've done it before. It's totally in line with who they are and what they've done in the past.
Yeah, and we actually have it in the show here to talk about some of those moments, which I think is probably an okay time to pivot to, unless anybody else has any theories on what's going on or anything else on Modkeeper's statement.
Nope.
No, because you mentioned those times in particular that they've been reactionary about that, and what that really brings up in mind is that Menaphos era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I had it in my mind to, talk a bit about how old school is doing it first. But since we got on the topic of, where content is, let's, just dive right into, Jagex's history with RS3 on this right now. And I hate to say it, and I feel like, Tanis, you're probably the only one who was here on the show with me back in the day for Menaphos. But this feels exactly like the aftermath following that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think it goes back even further than that, right? Like, it goes back originally to EOC, but this in particular, the Menaphos, I think, is particularly like this because we saw content droughts
the shift
after.
to expansions created
Yes.
created content droughts.
Yep.
Both before and after.
And after, yeah, because they were then turning strategy around.
I think to be a little bit redemptive on Jagex' side, like there is a technical difference in terms of how you develop content. Like if you're shifting from if you've bet the farm on expansions and then your first expansion comes out and the players say, no, we don't like this, go back. That's a hard shift. That is a difficult thing to do because you've done your planning for the year based around shipping a product in 6 months.
Which
So
exactly
if you
what
now
they said.
need to-
They had 3 ready to go.
Right. So like I'm understanding of why you'd have a content drought after that, just because you do need to completely change how you are looking at content again. It makes less sense here, given that the plan has always been we're going to release a big thing every month, and that never really changed.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a shift to expansions because they kept that that word in their monthly content releases. But I see the symptoms as the same, reduced update frequency. We're dealing with a case here where players' expectations are not being met, and that was the major downfall of Menaphos. It wasn't what players expected. People expected something higher level, but it was squarely aimed at people in the 60 bracket. So the folks who were higher level got a reputation system grind and a few quests along the way.
Yep.
and that was going to be it. And the interesting part about that is I think what came after was that shift to those smaller updates, the unfinished business list, what effectively was a back to basics approach, which I feel like that's what Jagex was trying to implement last year, was a back to basics approach for the game that we saw in the quest storyline, that we saw in terms of the content drops that we had, and in general trying to scratch that community itch. And I don't know if that, is the fact that they're similar, is that we should draw comparisons, but I just thought it would be interesting to kind of point this out for people who weren't around in 2017-ish.
Yeah. The problem, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with Menaphos. It was aimed to that sort of between 50 and 70 level mark.
Yeah.
Going back and playing an alt and going through it at those levels, it was a really good update. But with the aging population and player base that we have here, who are all 90 plus, it didn't hit the mark there. And I think Menaphos was probably the wrong expansion to come out with first. But, again, as you said, is that once bitten, twice shy. Okay, it didn't work. People said that. We have to go back. And, go back to basics. Get back and start building that trust. But that's
the key point. I think that's the thing I want us to come out of this saying that there needs to be a realization of, is that the community, in effect, doesn't trust the communications around this issue right now, I think.
That's right. I mean, that's the thing. If you watch the video at all, I mean, Mod Warden was... there was no excitement there. It was very bland. It was like I'm being forced to come out and give you something that I don't really have a lot
Hang
to
on,
give.
what are we talking about here? Are we talking, because there was no video with this and Mod Warden had nothing to do with Menaphos?
Sorry, not Warden. Sorry, Mod Keeper with the one that just come out, where he was very for this month and next month.
Oh, okay, the post. Yeah.
There's just no he's just
there's no energy.
Just got nothing. There's no energy at all, and it is. I think it is just going back to the board, just reworking everything, and perhaps they shouldn't have done a video on it. Perhaps they should have just put out, hey, this is what's happening, this is what's coming, next 2 months.
Was there a video?
Working on a big update for summer.
I don't.
Was there a video? I didn't see any video.
There was a video, but not with... Keeper wasn't in the video, I don't believe.
Oh, that was the live stream, right?
Yeah.
The live stream,
yeah.
Right.
with Dooms Sponge and
Doom.
Luma. I
Sorry,
believe.
yeah. Sorry, not Keeper. Doom. Mod Doom was. He
And
lived up
that's
to his name.
fair.
Very
Yeah,
Doom and Gloom.
it was not his usual.
Yeah, that was out of character for Mod Doom, I
Sure,
think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very doom and gloom. That's sorry, I said Keeper when I meant Doom. My fault.
Okay.
I get names mixed up easily.
I'm going to thank some Patreon supporters right now, but after that, I want to talk about Anachronia and its aftermath, because there was a similar thing with that, too. So this week, I'd like to thank Alvaro L., Amos Reed, Andrew C., Arvids L., Chubura, Daniel W., Dominic R., Drama Free, Duramax, Free Mill, Guy LaFleur, Jacob G., Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jeebus, Jesse W., Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Ling01, Luminos, Nate the Great, Pernasius, Renhawk, Ricky A., Ripid, Runestar, Samuel FL, Scott DS, Shirt Pants, The Naked Captain, The Dab and Goat, Tim, Tom V., Ukulele Steve, and Zant. Of course, if you're wondering what all this is about, check us out at patreon.com/RSBNB. There you can access the most recent monthly bit or bonus show that we put up for our Patreon supporters talking about farming, which is aptly named the title thanks to Tanis, Fawning Over Farming.
Hey, farming's a good skill. I like it.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it was just so interesting. All these monthly bits in, we had never actually talked about farming, my favorite skill. This was an idea that was cooked up in about 20-odd minutes by Thaxi, and that, lo and behold, put it in the poll. It runs away with it. Patreon supporters decide what we talk about there each and every month. So if you want to give that a listen, and any of the other monthly bits that are out there, including the same sort of treatment for Slayer, the Slayer task hot or not list, or maybe even if you want to learn a bit about Legacy Combat, all that is there at patreon.com/RSBNB for as little as $1 a month. And of course, we also have a VIP tier, where for $3 a month you can get a special rank on Discord. It includes a chat channel, and you get a mention on the podcast at the start of the month. And, of course, you also get high-quality stereo versions of the show with that one. For $5 a month, you can receive a shout-out on the podcast each and every week and gain exclusive access to the clips that we use to make the clip show at the end of the year. And, of course, that tier, if you want to, really look ahead, that tier also gets the world-famous RSBNB update Christmas card. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, patreon.com/RSBNB. Support your favorite podcast. It greatly means the world to us. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
All
and
right.
just to let people know, there might be some very tasty clips from pre-show today.
Oh, my God. That's right.
if Shane has the guts to put them up.
Well, he has to now.
I do.
We put the challenge to Shane.
Anachronia. This is another
Anachronia.
thing that Tanis and I always come back to. I messaged you about this earlier this afternoon, Tanis. I said, looking at the 2019 update schedule, it doesn't look like there's a content gap or drought before and after that. But you and I very clearly remember in the lead up to it and immediately after Anachronia, it felt like we were, feeling a lack of content there, right?
Yeah.
And what this one was attributed to, and this is one we know best, what impacted it before, it was, the work on that huge island piece of content that, was bordering expansion territory, the weapon diversity beta that went nowhere, and the comp cape rework that, took forever to work on, and the amount of time for it that eventually, they had to press pause on that.
Fizzled.
So many things before. And then after that, you pivot into things where, well, we're looking at the fact that, 120 Herblore and 120 Farming are going to be coming out in November with that. So there's a focus on that. This also would have been when Archaeology was reaching its final development state. So you saw that there was very much a content drought in that, August, September, October period, minus the, the 120 Herblore in November. Then we got War's Retreat in January, and then it was basically it until Archaeology, shipped at the end of March. So that content drought, I think, is explainable. And I was hoping that, and this is what I was hoping for when we saw the post here, was that there would be some sort of explanation in Modkeeper's post that, they would say, hey, coming off of necromancy and regarded the dreaded H word, we had to, in essence, shift shift some things around. So that's why you haven't seen as much content since then. Oh, and by the way, we're working on some really interesting things for the second half of the year. Here's a brief tease of what they were.
Fair though, with Anachronia, the release of Anachronia, there was so much content, and even for the high level players, that a 3-month drought didn't really feel like a drought because you still had so much you were chasing and going through there. The Wars Retreat was actually bought ahead because of that drought. They said they bought that ahead a few months because there was nothing in that space there.
Right, because Archaeology, remember, was supposed to ship in early January, but they made the decision to delay it to March.
So they had Wars Retreat ready to go, so they bought that forward.
And my point is that the stuff surrounding Anachronia leading up to Archaeology, I think, is very explainable in terms of why it was the way it was and what came before and what came after. And I was hoping we get some clarity on this case with this, but based on our, the thesis that Zerdones had, I don't necessarily know that that's something we have going on here with this.
That's right, because they were hyping, as you said, they were hyping the farming herb lore, they were hyping archaeology. We had at RuneFest, Mod Raven coming out dressed up as Granny. They had stuff that they could get us excited about, and it took your mind off the fact there was nothing in that period.
And then we come to what immediately came after that, and that's the era where Mod Warden was executive producer. Limited communication, I think even less than we have today, but there was a focus on keeping players updated on what was on the way and talking about it when it was ready to be revealed and talked about. And we also had regular communication and live streams from the leadership team, which, of course, we don't have here. We also, of course, saw the creation of player value by bringing out tentpole pieces of content every few months, pandemic aside. 120 Farming Herblore, Archaeology, Raksha, Orthan and Centistan, and the biggest one of them all, the Elder God Wars, put over 9 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a very clear, messaging there and delivery of content and, in effect, bringing people along for the ride in what was a vision. And at this point, I don't know if you can let the RuneScape player base coast that way, given what Old School is doing, as an example.
Well, what made that work was you knew a little bit of an overarching direction he was going. And what you didn't know was a launch date or what month maybe something was coming out,
or numbers beside the update.
But you knew that
it was coming.
We're working on that God War was going to be, the God Wars is this is the finale, right? I mean, you had something to look forward to, right? You which I actually think that's the best mix. Enough to be like, yeah, I'm looking forward to this, without having a date that you're going to be disappointed if they don't hit it by a week, or a month, or
that's right,
or whatever.
And even when they did delay Archaeology from January to March, there was reasoning behind it, the polish, the some of the QOL stuff that did get added in before that,
and they had something to slip in,
right? And it actually was polished, right? So when we got it, we're like, oh, well, they actually did polish. Oh, okay.
And also, with Mod Warden, he was constantly saying, "Hey, contact me, send me, send me questions," and he answered those. I sent a couple into him, and within 2 days, he'd answered me, sent me, back emails and saying, "Yep, this is, thanks for the feedback. This is what I'm looking at." Bang, bang, bang. I mean,
well, to be fair, they have been doing, surveys every other month or so here.
But this was just send me a random question and ask me something if there's something you're worried about. I'm not talking about surveys.
And I think that
I
think it's, what I think we need. And maybe you guys might disagree with this, but I think what that speaks to, and one of the key ingredients that's missing, is who is the community face for RS3? Is it, going to be
Yeah.
Mod Keeper? Is it going to be Mod Jack? Is it going to be, Mod Doom as lead CM? Or not lead CM,
It
as
kind of
CM.
has been all of. He's not the lead CM, but he's the most active CM in the areas that most players deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all of those things, and I think like the thing about the thing about Warden. I liked Warden. I think there's a lot of rose-tinted glasses about Mod Warden. I think in particular, I think Tanis is underselling the extent to which not knowing when something was coming out was frustrating to players at the time. But I think part of why we look more fondly on Mod Warden, I think, is partly because some really highly engaging content came out, but also because like Pernasius was saying, he was there. He was a presence that we could interact with. And Mod Keeper, for better or for worse, doesn't have that leadership style. And we've largely not replaced it with anything.
Right. And I just want to say hang on, I just want to say one thing, is that there's no requirement that the EP be a community front-facing person. You just got to have somebody who's able to do that and consistently be there and be able to answer those questions.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say.
I think we'd go a long way if Mod Doom had a weekly live stream again.
Yep. I mean, and that's what I think is missing. I mean, Mod Warden and Mod Keeper are two totally different people. I'm not saying one's better than the other. Mod Keeper, that's not the type of personality is. That's fine, but we need a community manager like what was his name?
Shawnee,
who's out there and doing that, and he can be the face that you contact and have questions with.
Again, to play devil's advocate, Mod Doom has been incredibly active in the Discord community, the Twitter community, the Reddit community. It's just the official Jagex facing live stream stuff that's missing, in my view.
That's right.
Well,
yeah.
I think,
and that's the stuff that I look at.
I think as well, like, for all Mod Doom is very active in the social media spheres, I think in some ways that actually works against him, because, and I don't say this to blame him, like it's not really his fault. He doesn't have information to share. He's just kind of present. But I think that grates on players almost more, because he's there, he's interacting, but he's not saying anything. And the players are saying, we want to hear something. And here's the CM who's not telling us anything.
And don't forget, there are a lot of older players who don't interact with Reddit and don't interact with Discord. I mean, I'm never on. I mean, Red shit. I never ever log on to that. Discord. The only time I log on to Discord is when I'm coming into chat with you guys. Yes, I am active on Twitter, but you don't always get those feeds on there. Unless you favourite that particular person, whereas when there was a live stream or just even a YouTube video coming up, it's an official RuneScape one, I would always log on and take that time to watch it and listen to it. And that's as an older person. I mean, everyone knows I'm 53 years old. So, but I'm friends with a lot of players who are in that 50 to 60 age bracket, and they're all in the same boat. They don't interact with that social media side of things.
Yeah.
Well, I also think too, Mod Doom is in an impossible position. The CMs before had, I think, more of a free hand. I think Mod Doom has seen things coming, warned them, and they didn't listen to him. And then on the other hand, you have the community just pitching a fit. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So, like, that sucks.
He's in a tough position, yeah. I don't envy his job at the moment.
Absolutely.
So what does that mean then for today? Like, obviously, we're waiting for our monthly content updates. Is the solution, I guess, then to just, get back out there and start doing things in the live stream vein, in the video vein, like they used to, like to just have that conversation.
But that's only gonna that help. But we need to know, okay, if you switch direction, what is our direction? Give us a freaking compass, a direction. Look, I don't care if there's a map, but can we at least tell me if we're going north?
And here's the thing. I used to be so incredibly skeptical of doing this, but everybody knows the old school show is running and doing well. I'm enjoying my time over there. They just had their winter summit, which put forward a fully detailed plan for the first half of the year with previews of what's coming on in the second half, which includes an introductory boss that shipped 2 weeks ago called Scurrius the Rat King. Defender of Varrock and Welguthic Sleeps are being brought into the game. Defender of Varrock Spring, Welguthic Sleeps a little bit after. There's going to be a skilling update for content in the wilderness that's been neglected to try and get people to go back in there despite PvP going on. And there's a new area expansion on the way out on the western continent that's going to ship in 2 parts, with the first one dropping in March and the second one dropping in the summer. And in the second half of the year, we have things like Dead Band mode for the summer, updates on where sailing is going to be at, betas for sailing, and an HD client update with plugins. And they're able to tell the entire community what they're up to for the next 6 months.
And that's not without dates. That's just, hey, this is coming in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months. This is what we're working on. You don't have to give dates. You don't have to even give a month.
If Jagex knew what they were going to be doing for the next 6 months, as well as maybe some ideas of what's coming after that, would it not be possible to have something in the same vein as the old school Winter Summit? I hate to be one of those people who say that this would fix that, but maybe it would, and then we get back to that original point. If they're not, they either don't have it, or they're not sure it's going to pan out.
I think the reason old school can get away with doing that and with being vague on when things are coming out, and like they're not being super vague, like they do have some idea of when things are coming out, but they can do that because the old school player base trusts that they're going to deliver content that is exciting, and it's going to be it's going to be exciting, it's going to be on time, it's going to be in a good state. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be in a good state.
Lead but not follow.
And I think RS3 could do something like that. Let's assume they have a plan for where they're going to go after the Hero Pass debacle. They could do a winter summit. They're effectively going to do a fall summit. It's what RuneFest is, functionally.
That's what I was thinking, too.
But that will only help insofar, like, I don't think it will help until they prove they can deliver.
And that they're on a wavelength that the community trusts after Hero Pass.
And I think that's been the problem historically, or at least over the last couple of years, is players have been very skeptical with update announcements because they didn't have that trust.
Yeah. Yeah. Then ask yourself how we got into that position to begin with. And then that's an entire different discussion on its own.
That's a whole show.
That's a monthly bit discussion one day.
No, it's an everyone discussion. But you see the issue here, folks. It's not something that can be fixed in a one swoop.
Oh no, and they've got to. I mean, that's the problem. They've got to earn that trust back again, and that's
and
not
you
given
don't
freely.
do that by
it's going to take time. Exactly. You have to start. Okay, listen. We know we made a mistake. We're owning it. This is what we're looking at doing. this is how we're going to try and get around it. Please give us time. We're working on this for you guys. We're working on this. There's going to be a great new quest series coming up. Probably won't hit until summer or autumn or whatever but this is what we're looking at. And, it is a tough situation that they are in. As I said, I mean, I don't envy it because, the RS community is a very different community to a lot of other gaming. We are very invested. I mean, the game's 23 years old. I mean, everyone is heavily invested in it. It is our own personal baby.
Yeah.
It is their personal baby too, and they don't want it to fail. That's how they earn their living. They want the best.
Zerdones, you want to scratch that? You want to scratch that itch you were talking about with the quest formatting now? Or you want to talk about that in the Mod Stew segment? Since quest came up, quest lines came up.
Since quest came up, yeah. I mean, I guess I can touch on it now. Like, I feel like one of the things for me specifically that's been kind of lacking over the last year and a bit is the way quests are being delivered. I don't feel like makes quests exciting content. They're not really like it used to be that quests were a tentpole content release. Like even as recently as City of Sintistan, that was a big release, and part of that is because it was introducing the area that the Elder God Wars were going to be in. But it was a big tentpole release. It had a big marketing push. It had a video trailer. It had there was a lot behind it, and I feel like we haven't had quests haven't been that. Quests have been
since
here's your content.
Since
Extinction, I think.
No, the one after it, the
Twilight of the Gods.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I think that one's on the downslope, if you see what I mean. But I see where you're coming from.
And
there's no high. I mean, the quests we've had in the last year. I mean, they were decent quests, but there was nothing that was wow. I mean, they were all 3 out of 5. They just
and then when
they don't excite.
Okay, and then I'm going to shift gears and represent the PVM community here. You have the PVM community who is going along doing their own thing prior to Necromancy coming out. We expand the PVM community with Necromancy by making it the style that's easy to use and allowing so many people like myself and tons of listeners of this podcast to do bosses and feats like they'd never done before. But at the same time, the amount of power creep that was brought into the game to do that made a lot of the other really old bosses too simple to do, and as such, everybody else who was already doing high-level PVM with the other 3 combat styles really just felt the game to be made too easy. And then you factor all this in together, and then you see this is particularly why the player numbers are where they're at right now. Everything that we talked about, plus that.
To be fair, those high-level PVM players aren't playing those old bosses anyway.
No, but I think it still applies.
It applies.
Think the thing about Necromancy, and obviously I'm not a high-level combat player, but I think the thing about Necromancy is it launched with a combination of vastly more raw power than any other style, and it didn't have the same diversity that's been built up over 20 years of systems. So it's just not as interesting because there's less choice that goes into there's less choice and there's less action. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's 3 sets of armor, only 2 of which you're probably going to use, 2 weapons, very few potions, no auras, very few supplemental items, only 12 skills or 12 abilities, however many there are. There's not a lot of expression that goes into getting that level of power.
Right, and that's wonderful for people who have never been able to do PVM before, and for people who were enabled by that. That is truly wonderful. But at the same time, you have a best in slot range setup or best in slot mage setup. August 6th, before Necromancy comes out, you know what you're doing, and you're running around at all the bosses. The next day, well, maybe not the next day, a few days after, Necromancy has blown all that power away, and it's like, why use anything but Necromancy compared to the old tools I used to have? And we hope, of course, that the combat beta will change that. And this isn't to necessarily retread all the combat beta stuff. We've talked a lot about this, but the point is that if you add that with the content cadence that we're seeing right now, and the messaging that's coming out of Jagex, and what happened after Hero Pass, you get to this situation where the only people who are really, happy with the game as it is right now, and I hope I'm not extrapolating too much with this, are people who are happily working on any of the grinds that they have out there, max, a 99, 120 all, 200 mil, comp, you name it. If you have completed the game right now, you have nothing.
Yeah, if you're a mid-level player, then you're still happy. And I know plenty of mid-level players, or even like late-game players who are still working on max or comp or whatever, and they're still logging in, they're still having fun.
Right. And it's interesting, after we started having these conversations, I went out, to our people, and we had this discussion at the round table, and that's precisely what we brought back with that, and why you're hearing this now here. So it's interesting.
It's not like the game has become less fun. It's just there's nothing to excite people who are looking for a reason to be excited.
Bingo. 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 Okay. Well, that was a mouthful. We did the Winter Summit and recapped where we were. Closing thoughts on the current state of affairs. Let's start with you, Tanis.
Been here before. We'll probably be here again. But we always come out of it. Someone will right the ship. We will find out what the change of direction was at some point. Till then, just do what you like to do. I mean, that's been what I'm doing, right? I just keep doing the same old grinds or whatever, but that's okay for, that's okay. Eventually we'll have something to look forward to.
All right. Pernasius.
Yep, I mean, everything ebbs and flows. We're in a bit of an ebb at the moment. It doesn't mean it's not going to improve. Yeah, you just go through it. Also, I just want to reiterate, and I know our listeners are quite, are very good, but I mean, the people making the game and running the game are human too. They're going to make mistakes. There's going to be problems, but, critical criticism is fine, but I do follow Twitter, and some people have been posting some of the stuff being said on other forums, and it's not nice. Just it's one of those things. As Tanner said, we've been here before. We'll be here again. It is going to happen. Ebbs and flows happen. So just work through it. Have fun. Do what you enjoy. Okay, there's nothing coming out, but great time to work on building up those things you need for DXP weekends. Build your frames, get your potions ready, farm your herbs, all that type of stuff. But just have fun.
Zerdones?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, it's not a great time, but to loosely paraphrase an author that I used to read, every time in the past when I've thought something would never end, it did.
Yep.
So we will be fine. Pernasius and Tanis absolutely right. Focus on other stuff you want to do. Also, take the time to play other games. It's okay to take a break.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
That's what I've been doing. Like, I've been logging into RS occasionally, but I've mostly been working on old games that I've been meaning to play. I finished the Tomb Raider reboot recently.
Ooh.
Started Just Cause 2 today.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm playing Civilization, taking over the Mediterranean. Wait, what can I say?
Conquer the world.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm going to reiterate a lot of that too, and that's part of the reason. Well, not the full reason. Started the old school show. The old school show was going to go before most of this happened, but it's interesting to definitely compare the two and to just have something in a way that's fresh to me to do. And that hey, I'm going for 99 agility. I'm going for 99 farming on old school. So
of course you are.
Yeah, of course you can do all sorts of things with that. But I'm gonna just summarize this by saying is that we need to hear more before community sentiments change, and there needs to be, I think, a change in messaging on this. I think that's the number one thing that we can walk away from in our segment here today on that. So,
and I mean that's happened. We've had that before. We need a change in messaging. I mean, it seems to happen every 4 or 5 years that it just starts to fall away, and someone fresh comes in, and bang, it's all up again. But yep,
it's the sign of this changing seasons. It's how we know to bring in the harvest.
Yep.
Ooh, Hakuna Matata.
Oh boy. Well, a sign of the changing seasons in particular. There's a new Wilderness Flash event that we can all go play.
When it's available in Australia.
Yeah, I haven't had the ability to go and get this yet, but the WildyWyrm has been made a flash event. The old WildyWyrm has gone goodbye, and the idea behind this one is that you slay the WildyWyrm for sacks of wild and very wild sacks, which give you the opportunity to chase the worm reward gland, which can have the worm spikes, the hearts, or the scalps that the old WildyWyrm used to have. And I mean, hey, you're facing this with people in a non-PvP sense, so this is actually way better, a way better way of doing it than. So
they've taken the old WildyWyrm out completely?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's see. The last one was February 8th at 9 p.m. game time. And the next one will be February 9th at 11 a.m. game time.
So in 6 hours.
Yep. Okie dokie. Well, there's that timing then.
10 p.m. on a Friday night in Australia. Wonderful.
Yeah. So.
Well, you're single now. You're not going out anymore.
Yeah, but I'm usually 10 p.m. is generally sort of wrapping up whatever movie I'm watching on a Friday night.
Yeah, fair enough.
And of course, the reward glands have the chance to offer Fury Shark, the Worm Heart, which is used for combining with the Staff of Light, which creates the Staff of Darkness, the Worm Scalp. I don't remember what that one is used for. That one's the Dark Bow, isn't it? That makes the Strike Bow.
I think that's the Dark Bow.
Yeah. Dark Bow makes the Strike Bow.
And then the other one makes the whip. And,
yep.
Credit to them for doing this. Because the drop rates on the old WildyWyrm for these items were like 1 in 1,500.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
And from the Lava Strike Worms, they're like 1 in 6,000.
Yeah, but are you going to? You're really going to see many? I mean, if it's only happening every 6 hours or whatever.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Before the WildyWyrm used to appear every hour or so I could go and do it when I felt like it. Now that there's no PVM out there. Now, I mean, I try and do sort of.
Well, to be fair, they did up it from very rare to rare because it used to be red on the wiki. Now it's just orange rare.
Yeah, but still, if I'm fighting it sort of 2 or 3 times a day, now I'll be lucky to see it once or twice a week. So, am I really better off?
I think it's better off for engagement because.
For engagement,
because
I
don't think the old one was really used that much.
I still went there, and it was fairly simple. I mean, I'm not a PVMer, and I could take it out with ranged on my own, with a yak full of rocktails, but like the King Black Dragon, where you can still go and kill that, and then he comes out.
Right.
I just wish that they had I wish they had kept it both ways. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You do need to do 35,000 damage to the WildyWyrm to get rewards.
Yep.
And of course, HP scales with the number of people at the event. So.
Just like with the King Black Dragon and the Pyre Fiends.
Yeah, just all the combat events, basically.
Yeah.
And you know what I think this is also a good sign of? I think this is a good sign that we can see, more events added to the Flash event system going forward.
Yeah, just give me a week's grace so that I can still teleport directly to them.
Right, that's actually that's actually
the
the interesting thing to note here, is that you will have lost comp on this, but you also will have lost comp if you didn't have 120 necromancy, as that grace period ended on the 7th.
Yeah, well, grace periods. I mean, as I said, I'm not asking for a 6-month grace period, but just give me a week on my Wildy sword. So, because I like to just teleport to those events. Now I have to remember where they are and run out there.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that the Strike Worm event is just south of the Wilderness Herb Patch. So if you have the Wilderness Sword, you do have a quick teleport there to get your teleport to all the others back. Obviously, it doesn't help if you're in the upside down, but
they're all easy to get to. It's just remembering because I've just done the sword for so long. I thought, shit, how am I supposed to get there now?
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a lazy man's thing. That's all.
Boy, what a way to put that. What a way to put that.
Hey, I'm 53. I'm old and slow now. I just want to,
no judgment. Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Does anybody want a puppy?
Usually.
I always want puppies. When are they giving me a pug in game?
That's a good question. But the Valentine's event is live. The gifts from the Heart Treasure Hunter promo with Heart Mints. With this, you'll be able to get the new Rose Petal Aura Override as well as Rose Petal weapon overrides. But there's also the brand new Rosie Pet, which is a dog that will follow you around that you can get with Heart Mints. You have until February 21st to pick those up if that's something.
What are these devotion spikes?
What was that?
Devotion sprites.
The devotion sprites are coming back starting today when you'll be listening to it. So those are they're little horrible goblin creatures that spawn around lodestones, and you can click on them. I think it's once a day, and they give you a thing.
A gift box containing either Heart Mints, Valentine's chocolates, or the rose-tinted glasses. So that's your way of getting Heart Mints.
Is it like an hourly thing, or is it just a random thing? You just have to hang around a lodestone?
I think they're just always around, but you can only interact with them once a day.
Okay, I'll go test one.
Berthorpe, Varrock, Lumbridge, and Priff Lodestone.
Let's.
Right, the main hubs.
Yeah. Though I don't know. I don't know if that's the right time for it. Maybe it's coming up on this, and maybe it'll give a nice amount of Heart Mints for that. But I don't think we need a standalone Valentine's event. I know we had the slime event that one year, and that one quest with those. I'm forgetting their name. What's the name of that quest?
Heartstealer.
Yeah, that one. Right.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a cute quest.
Yeah, it was.
It was fine.
All right. So that's that.
Okay. It must appear at random times.
No, I think it's on the hour.
On the hour, okay, because there's
okay.
no one here yet. Yeah.
Okay.
It just doesn't say anything there.
Right.
Yeah. It just doesn't say when it's going to appear. It just says they'll appear at the thing, so they don't really give you a whole lot of information.
Right.
All right. Let's move on to the patch notes then.
Yes.
We do have a few of those this week. So, luck will now improve your chances in Big Game Hunter to spawn more than one dinosaur.
Yay! Still waiting to
Good
get a
for-
3.
Yeah, really good for people hunting those achievements.
I have never been much for the ones with multiple dinosaurs because I always found them too difficult.
I don't like them, but I need a 3, and in nearly 1,000 kills, I've only had the 3 twice. I failed the first time. The second time, I was about to do it, and everything froze up on the computer because Australian internet, wonderful. Getting that last one, and he killed me. So,
that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, duos aren't so bad, but trios are awful.
Yeah. But to try and get a trio, as I said, 2 in nearly 1,000 missions, it's like, nah.
Yeah, they're they were super rare. Hopefully it's better now.
Yes.
Grizzly bears and black bears no longer appear as purple when textures are disabled.
Oh,
bad.
Who was our purple lover? Was that you, Zedones, or was that
it wasn't me.
Zant.
Zant. I knew it was a Z name. Although you're X, but it's pronounced Zedone.
Yeah. Close enough for government work.
Yeah, exactly.
A warning screen has been added when interacting with the chest of souls inside your player-owned dungeon. I guess
is that like making? I guess that's making sure you don't accidentally
put the wrong one in that you want to put in your dungeon instead.
That's probably a good.
That is
a good change.
I've done it before.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
Okay. With
my
what
Ripper
kind?
Demon that I finally got, and I put it in the thing instead of in the dungeon. I go, you dickhead.
Oh, that hurts.
It did, because I had to go and do them all again. But I mean, Rippers are very easy nowadays anyway. So
yeah.
Spirit attraction potions have been increased from 6 to 15 minutes. This was one of Mod Days' game jams.
Yeah, still not long enough.
Still not long enough, but still better.
It should be an hour for one, but yeah. It is better because now, I mean, I can just take one. If I am going to be AFK, I can just sort of click on one for 15, go away and do my housework or whatever. But yeah, I still think they should be at least 30 and preferably an hour long.
Is it worth it, though? It's 120k for a 4-doser.
They're not worth it. But, you know, the one I miss is going to be the one that has my hazel.
Yeah, exactly.
You know that.
It's always the one.
There goes my Hazelmeres.
Players can now start sinkholes with 2 to 5 players.
Okay.
Cool.
Is anybody else
better
on
hope you get the right one, though.
Is anybody else on the bandwagon that Dungeoneering really needs a relook at some point?
Well, I've maxed it all out pretty much.
I think if we were to ever do a skill or not, that would be the one.
It's a maxi minigame.
Yeah, it's weird. I like kind of yes, but also I don't know what you could do to it really. I don't know. Sort of remaking it from the ground up, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say it would need the smithing and mining work done on it.
But you couldn't do that because, from my understanding, is that all the mechanics in Dungeoneering are their own mechanics outside of the main game. Hence, why the old mining and smithing still exists there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I was doing some mining over on Old School, and jeez. I am so glad we got that. I know.
Oh, man, I know.
I forgot how bad it was now that I've been treated to the thing here.
Yeah.
Next up, when starting the Tears of Guthix minigame, if you have the items and level required to cast the Enlightenment ability, which of course comes from the Light Creature Familiar, and you haven't cast it yet, Juno will ask you if you want to continue because it has a 10% chance of giving you double tears.
Making sure that
go ahead.
You're going to have it, yeah. No,
They added daily challenge streaks to the quick chat. The perk out achievement now counts active tier 1 perks that have been permanently unlocked by completing breeding logs at the Manor Farm.
Nice.
And here's an interesting one. I gotta wonder if, there might have been some fishy stuff going on with this. Players are now limited to purchasing 3 membership passcodes per week with bonds.
Yeah, there's a story there. I don't know what it is, but it sounds like there's a story. Yeah, could be.
And they fixed an issue where the wild Jade Vine could be killed with combat styles other than melee. The wild Jade Vine can only be killed with melee now. Though
I'd
if you
say
are,
that would have just been necromancy.
though if you are killing the
rip necromancy,
if you are killing the Jade Vine, we have different things we need to talk about because that D&D is not worth the time. Here's a fun one. The Ravensworn trait is once again not possible to be acquired through re-rolling in the player-owned farm at the Manor.
Wonder when that changed. That was funny.
Yeah, so when they changed it so you couldn't, get the same perk on the perk rerolls that you already had, somehow
God, yeah.
in there you were able to reroll to Ravensworn.
Fair enough. I've got all those done. I think I've got one more dinosaur to get as Ravensworn, and I've got all them with the Ravensworn one as well. Even though that wasn't part of it.
The Dominion Tower XP book interface has been updated and necromancy has been added to the reward list. Wonderful.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
And the Beast of Burden preset withdraw will select items regardless of quantity in the player's bank. If the quantity is insufficient, the preset will then withdraw and reload what is actually available.
Cool.
Good.
And there's the patch notes of the week. All right, a bit of a brief discussion now on streamlining of quest requirements. This will be coming into game a few weeks from now. I think it was like February 19th or something, if I remember correctly on this. But this is one of Mod Stu's Game Jam projects that he worked on at various points, starting in December 2022 all the way through 2023. And it's effectively being written here as, just really streamlining a lot of quest requirements out there. And I remember us talking about this when this first landed in Zerdones. You said the same thing. Yeah. So I'm not going to, dedicate too much time to it here. But I think this is probably a good thing to have nonetheless.
Yep. For anyone who thinks it's not a bad thing, log on to the website and have a look at the tangled tree, and you'll understand why it's probably needed.
Yeah. And I mean, the classic example that's given in the post is Desert Treasure, which initially required dig site, tourist trap, Temple of Ikov, Priest in Peril, waterfall, troll stronghold. Now it's only going to require the dig site and troll stronghold and the ability to enter Mauritania. And as it comes out in this post, back in the day, sometimes quest requirements were just put in to showcase that a different quest existed. Like, for example, on Desert Treasure, the only reason the waterfall quest is a requirement is because you go near the waterfall.
That explains it all. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Going through that quest list and just doing all those stupid quests that don't have nothing to do with the one thing you're trying to do with. It all makes sense now.
There's a lot of weird design choices with early quests, and when I say early, I mean quests before like 2018 maybe, which can be all be explained basically by nobody cared and the devs just did whatever they wanted.
Yeah, and looking in the case of Desert Treasure, that's needed for the exam center section. Fair enough. The tourist trap, its only connection is that both quests feature the Bedouin camp. The Temple of Ikov, the only connection is Asgarnia Smith, who claims to have uncovered the temple. Priest in Peril originally was needed to enter Mauritania via the mausoleum, but Everlight and the agility shortcut over the River Salve have now added other ways to enter Mauritania. Waterfall, the only connection there is a sea near Backstorian Falls, and Troll Stronghold was needed for the Ice Diamond section. So with that, you really, start to pare it down on that. And
if it helps people get into questing, like some of those quests you want to do, but some of those smaller ones are just, if you're not a quester, you're probably not interested. So, if it opens the game up to more people, go for it.
Yeah. So another one that's happened is with Legends Quest. Previously, that used to require Shiloh Village, but now it just requires Jungle Potion. Because you don't actually need to enter Shiloh Village during Legends Quest, but you do need the Jungle Potion quest to make that Bravery Potion. Also, Memory of the Myrek no longer is a 10-day time gate to build all of the Myrek statue plinths. Oh my god.
That's a good one. That pissed me off when that first came out.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it makes sense if you're doing it when it releases. But, yeah, after the fact. Yeah.
Karshai as well, near the Bainite mining site in the Arctic, now requires you to accept the Children of Ma quest before recapping most of the Six Age plot.
Spoilers! Oops.
Skill requirement changes, as an object quest will no longer require 58 prayer. Between a Rock will no longer require 30 defense, and the defense, mining, and smithing XP will be converted to lamps. The Curse of Zaros mini quest no longer requires 31 prayer. The Desert Slayer dungeon mini quest will no longer require 70 Slayer, but it is mentioned in the quest overview combat description, so you can train on the lower level bosses to meet the 4th boss's level 70 Slayer requirement.
Yeah, so that's one where you'll require 70 Slayer to finish the quest, just not to start it.
Yeah, so what this does is it makes it so that you can get into the Desert Slayer dungeon a lot lower, I think, right?
Yep.
So you can train on the lower level bosses to meet that 4th boss's requirement. Dream Mentor no longer requires the arbitrary 85 combat requirement. Enter the Abyss requires 5 rune crafting rather than rune mysteries to demonstrate a basic knowledge of rune crafting, since rune mysteries was reworked to not lock access to the essence mines. Fairy Tale Part 3 no longer requires 37 summoning and 59 magic, so that fairy rings can now be fully unlocked by magic and summoning peers. Gnarly will no longer bite you if your summoning is lower than 37, and 59 magic is no longer required to heal patches and allies in the Fairy Godfather battle. So just, smoothing out a lot of these things here. Family Crest, 59 magic is a suggestion. The unabridged versions of the Fremenic Saga's requirements are now displayed as suggestions.
Good.
And King's Ransom...
I enjoyed those.
Oh my god. I feel like those have aged horribly.
Oh, they have, but I mean, they're still fun to go back and do. I'd love to see a rework on those.
King's Ransom no longer requires 65 defense and 45 magic. Wanted no longer requires 101 quest points. Swan Song no longer requires 101 quest points. And then just a bunch of miscellaneous updates that are there along the way at the bottom of the post here. So
yeah, mostly smoothing around dialogue progressions.
Yeah. I have to say, it's time probably for somebody to come up with an updated version of this chart. No?
I do like in the Curse of Arov, the Pharaoh Queen gives you the jar of oil now, so you don't have to go and do the Shades of Morton to try and get it.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah. It's a lot easier now. They've added so much buffs to that minigame, but yeah.
But they're these are good quality of life updates. I mean,
they are.
Yes, technically it makes them a little bit easier, but as I said, it opens it up to more people, and that can only be a good thing.
Well, I think this is a point that Mod Jack has made on streams before. Like, is it such a big deal if 20-year-old content is made easier?
Not at all.
Do we really need people to be slogging through the earliest content in the game?
No. And you can see that by just, streamlining some of these requirements, because, there were ways to, cheese some of them in the past, but this kind of makes that more official and just, cleans a lot of this kind of mess up. So, yeah.
The one thing that I want to say on this that I think I don't want people to come away with the wrong impression, and Mod Stu has been very active on social media talking with players about some concerns along these lines, but something that it's easy to get the impression that this is just going to be removing too much. And I think to Stu's credit, like, Stu's great. We love Stu. I'm pretty sure he listens to this show at least somewhat regularly. So Stu, if you're listening, we love you. He is definitely very cognizant of when you shouldn't remove things. So, like, some quests have a lot of requirements, like Legends Quest while Gothic Sleeps. They have a lot of requirements because they're meant to feel epic, and Stu has been very clear that he is trying to keep that. So I guess a lot of words to say, if you're worried that this means quests are going to become too accessible in case that's not appropriate, I don't think you should be worried about that.
Right, and
Don't forget also...
completely hand-waving that away. If they were going to do that, you could just also get rid of, Legends Quest 107 quest point requirement, which they clearly did not do.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and those Legends Quest ones, things like that, where, I think they should have those requirements. But he did work closely with the lore community, so
yes,
it isn't just a decision he made himself. He did actually talk to the player base, and in particular, that lore community around this type of stuff. So, I don't think any serious person would be upset about this.
No, it's good.
I think the final analysis, no.
No, and Game Jam projects generally always receive a warm embrace when they land in the game. I can't imagine this being any different. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some achievements this week. So starting off, we had Mej Quest with 99 firemaking on the 7th, followed by 99 attack as well. Poison Nova got 99 necromancy on the 6th, and Arendelle 20 got 120 prayer on the 5th.
Moving on to Iske, who picked up 120 necromancy on February 5th. Drama Free, 99 farming on February 4th. Also on February 4th, we have Lord Zorik with 99 necromancy, and Naiad with 99 invention and 99 range, also both on the 4th.
But Naiad was not done because they got 99 attack, defense, and constitution, also on the 4th. Robbie got 200 mil XP, and Godin got 99 necromancy on the 3rd.
Also on February 3rd, Jadkor with 99 necromancy, and Mayquest with 99 divination. Sparty Pants with 120 divination on February 2nd, and opening up the month, Mayquest yet again, 99 summoning.
Well done, everyone. Well done. And Patreon members will know last week we had quite the mix-up with achievements and just so many odd things happening in the show. We're one take so far this episode, which is wonderful, isn't it, Tennis?
Hey, sometimes you have one take. Sometimes you have 150 takes.
Yeah. All right. Pick of the week time. Pick of the week is the Roddenberry Archive. So this is something I wanted to talk about last April, then it went down for a bit, but they're back. So the Roddenberry Archive at roddenberry.x.io has a collection of history and what you could call virtual exhibits of everything Star Trek. They have virtual walkthroughs of most of the bridges and the starship interiors that we have seen on TV. And you can do this either on your Apple Vision Pro headset, if you are one of the few people that has those, or if you're just like everybody else, you can just do it in your web browser. And we're not just talking about, being able to click on something and, see pictures of it. There's actual 3D environments that you can move through in your web browser using your WASD keys as if it were a video game. There's also hot points throughout the environments as well, where you can specifically choose one that you might want to, necessarily sit at. So say you want to, sit in the captain's chair, for example, you can do that and see what that perspective is like. Say, I don't know, maybe on the Enterprise D, you want to go down to the engine room. That was one of the new things that they added. And their goal with this is to continually add new environments to it that you can move through and explore, which, given the massive, massive history that Star Trek has, it's definitely something that, you can see they put a lot of care into. And they actually worked with a lot of the people who consulted with the show, built for the show, and people who have, tons of experience in actually building these sorts of, models both in person and also digitally. Because once upon a time, one of the folks who used to work on the Star Trek Online video game moved on from that and actually moved to the Roddenberry Archive and used to do interiors for the game. Now he does interiors for the Roddenberry Archive. So that's the kind of level that we're talking about here with this.
And all
I was going to ask, these
timelines and universes.
I was going to ask how they made these. So they're 3D modeling these environments by hand from scratch?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm wandering around Quark's bar right now, and if you told me they'd gone through the set with a 3D scanner, I would believe you.
Yeah, and see, that's the really interesting thing about this. So DS9 is one of the newer ones that was added in one of the most recent passes, and that model, as well as, you know, the model in Star Trek Online, were recreated from the exact blueprints that they used for the set.
Nice.
So that's the kind of level of detail that was there. And Parnassus, what were you saying?
I was just saying all the different timelines that they have. You know, ship view, bridge view. Yeah, you got Kelvin timeline, mirror universe, alternate realities, myriad realities, and then obviously the prime timeline with historic ships and structures. So
yeah, and you know they have differences, like the subtle differences too. They capture like the differences in the bridge between Star Trek First Contact and Star Trek Insurrection.
That's what I'm looking at.
And they also, of course, have the modern bridges as well from the Enterprise G and the Enterprise F that we saw in Season 3 of Picard. So you can wander through those too.
You can have a look at the Star Trek Search for Spock, the Wrath of Khan ships, which are obviously slightly different. Next
Older.
Generation.
Kelvin timeline. Everything is there. And, you know, I was wondering why it disappeared for a short while after it was first put online. But it didn't have the interactivity to it then, and it's got the interactivity to it now. So, I don't know.
Awesome.
I'm kind of wondering, you know, Tanis, how this would work on, you know, your you know, glasses and whatnot, because this is in effect like a video game that you can walk through. So I'm wondering what kind of perspective this would ultimately give you.
It would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I should try.
And the thing that, you know, absolutely blows me away with this is that it's all browser based. Like, we're getting something
crazy
that you can move through WASD wise inside a browser.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with web-based rendering now.
Yeah,
it's really incredible.
You'll note that I haven't had the best of luck getting it to work on my system. You can see I'm having this loading thing right now, so it's taking a while to load up. But if you have any interest in this, definitely go take a look at this and see how it goes for you. But it's a great level of immersion. So that's the pick of the week this week. And more on this sort of Star Trek vein coming too in future weeks. I have a good list of that. But
nice.
All right. What have we been up to? What have we been up to in RS? Let's start with you, Tanis.
Beginning the slow preparations for the frenzy to come.
Oh?
Yeah, just getting stuff for fletching and stuff for construction.
For DXP?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Decide on if it's going to be 120 or...
Well, yeah, everything's 120s, but I don't know if we'll make it there in one double XP or if we'll take two.
You wouldn't want to go for 200?
We're going for, my big goal is 120 all. For now.
Luck.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, especially with fletching. I guess you have dyne arrows and whatnot now, but it's not the cleanest modern skill, I'd say.
No, but one thing that's fun for me, one thing that's fun is on double XP is putting up those numbers. Like getting that 20 or 30 mil and an afternoon or evening. That stuff is cool, and that is one of the skills that you could do that relatively easily.
All right, fair enough. Zerdones?
I mentioned this a little earlier. I think I've pretty well just been in a holding pattern for a while. Basically, the only thing I really got left that I'm sort of slowly chipping away at is 120 Necromancy, which I'm about 5.5 million away from that.
Oh, wow, that's
But
closer than me.
Yeah, well, I had a lot more penguin points than you did.
Oh, is that how that went?
It helped. I got about 2.2 million from penguin points. I had quite a few stored up.
Drop it.
So yeah, I've got a little bit of a ways left, but I just haven't really been super motivated lately. So I've mostly just been logging in to do dailies, and if there's a cosmetic that I am interested in on Treasure Hunter, I'll maybe buy some keys with oddments to try and get that. But otherwise, I've mostly just been playing other games. Because other games exist, shockingly.
Yeah, fair enough. Which ones?
Well, I recently finished Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Which is it's a French game set during the in London during the Spanish flu, where you play as a vampire doctor trying to cure the flu. I didn't love it. It was they had some interesting stuff going on. Combat was really awful.
Yeah,
to be honest.
The stories was kind of neat how it could change and stuff.
Yeah, story was neat. I liked how it tied the moral choice to the gameplay in a very organic way. Mm-hmm. I thought it was quite clever. Mm-hmm. It did make, because I was trying to go for the golden ending, obviously. It made some of those boss fights awful. But, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We got this far in the show.
All right. Cool.
Pernasius?
Yeah, again, just like Tannis, I'm working towards 200 mil all, and I've been doing a lot of the dinosaur, catching the little baby dinosaurs and feeding them and such. I've got 250k dino arrows to make. Yeah, just basically, yeah, I'm heading for 200 mil all. So fletching is one of those ones, as you said, it's not a great skill, so it's one that I will work on DXP. Problem with DXP is I'm heading to Perth for the WWE Elimination Chamber, sort of in the middle of it. So
wow!
But it is the second weekend, so I should pretty much have done my 48 hours by then anyway. Other than that, just sort of, still chase. I've got one more Revenant to get, just the Dragon one, and I've completed that. And sort of working on boss creatures, Kelphite Queen. I've done everything bar the pet from her so far.
Yes. Good luck.
It's with Necromancy, it's AFK. You don't need to swap weapons or anything, so you just go in there, click on her, and sit back and watch the wrestling. Have your tab to pick up whatever drops there are, and just click the space bar to pick it up, and it's very AFK.
Yeah, you don't even need food.
No.
Right on then. As for me on RS3, I did a bit of Raziel this week. I'm not gonna. Nothing yet in terms of drops. So we're into February now.
Still haven't completed it.
No, the golden horseshoe has not struck for me. So it's fine though. It's fine. But on old school, just chipping away at agility, and just to give our RS3 listeners an idea of how the economy is working over there. It is profitable to do 2 farming runs with you and 1 with Papaya in a single day, paired with 2 herb runs. As in, you can do that, and you will not lose money.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, if you look back in the day to when RS3 was largely driven on the farming with seeds and whatnot, you would never find something that profitable for that. So I was pleasantly surprised when I started digging into that. So as we mentioned on the monthly bid, farming is a good skill, and if you want to learn more about that, we do have that monthly bid up now for Patreon supporters at patreon.com/RSBANB. But I don't think there's much else we have to say on this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed us picking apart what's actually going on here. Of course, who's to say if we're right? There's no way of knowing, but it's interesting to kind of dive into at the end of the day. So thank you, Zerdones and Pernasius, for being here.
Thank you, and just everyone, just be patient. It'll swing back.
Yeah.
It's
a video game. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And that's why you have podcasts like us, right, Tannis?
Yeah.
That you can get each and every week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Pocket Casts, and more. Just visit update.show/subscribe. And of course, we're also on YouTube at youtube.com/RSBNB. But with that being said, we'll be back next week for another episode of RSBNB Update. Do remember to take the survey at update.show/survey. So take care, everyone. See you then next week.
See ya.
Happy Skype and all.